Fate sometimes plays cruel jokes on us, but sometimes these jokes turn into the most unexpected happiness. Who would have thought that the drunken prank of a spoiled rich man would be the beginning of an amazing story of love and transformation? This fairy tale about Cinderella in a new way will prove that appearances are deceptive and the real beauty lies in the most unexpected place. When huge Kira stepped over the threshold of a luxurious restaurant, she could not imagine that she would become the object of a cruel joke and at the same time the protagonist of an incredible story. Businessman Aaron, drowning in a sea of champagne, defied fate, not suspecting that his words will change the lives of both of them forever. But who will change who more, the skinny fat guy or the fatty fat?
Thank you for watching my channel. I create videos for your enjoyment. Please subscribe if you want to support my efforts, it's very important to me. I apologize in advance for any mistakes, dubbing is done by neural network. Please point out mistakes in the comments so I can correct them.
Aaron Vandenbilt, the 35-year-old owner of a large construction company, sat at a table in the VIP room of the Russian Standard restaurant, surrounded by his so-called friends. Champagne was flowing and the air was filled with the smoke of expensive cigars and bursts of laughter. Another deal had made millions and Igor felt like the king of the world. "Hey Aaron!" shouted Tom, his deputy and old buddy. "You'll soon be buying up half of Chicago at this rate. Maybe it's time to think about your personal life too." Aaron waved his hand carelessly, spilling champagne from his glass. "Why do I need a personal life? I have money, power, and freedom. Any hottie will be mine with just a wiggle of my finger." "Oh, come on." Another friend, Nate, chimed in. "You're not a boy anymore, it's time to settle down. Look at me, I got married and got my life together." Aaron snorted contemptuously. "You just got caught up in your modeling. And me. I'm as free as the wind." Suddenly a brilliant idea hit him. He stood up, staggered, and said solemnly, "You want proof? Here you are. I swear I'll marry the first girl who walks through that door. Be she beautiful or beastly." The friends giggled, anticipating the fun. Some even began to place bets, a model, a waitress, or a random customer. At that moment the door opened and there she was, Kira. Kira, a 28-year-old employee of a recruitment agency, came to the restaurant for an interview. The restaurant was looking for a new manager and Kira was hoping to get the position. She nervously adjusted her overly tight suit that looked like it was about to burst at the seams. Kira was a large girl, to say the least. Her weight had long since passed the 120-pound mark and every step she took was difficult. But behind the outer clumsiness there was a sharp mind and a kind heart. When she entered the VIP lounge she was met with deafening silence. And then an explosion of laughter. "Wow!" shouted out one of Aaron's friends. "Looks like fate has decided to play a joke on you, brother." Aaron, still standing with his glass in his hand, turned pale. His gaze darted between a stunned Kira and his smirking friends. "So, Aaron?" Tom prodded. "A word is not a sparrow. Or are you a coward?" Kira, not realizing what was going on, tried to apologize and walk away. But Aaron, driven by a mixture of alcohol, pride, and some feeling he didn't understand himself, stepped forward. "Stop, mademoiselle." He attempted a gallant bow but almost fell over. "Allow me to introduce myself, Aaron Vandenbilt, your future husband." Kira froze, not believing her ears. She looked around the room full of laughing men in expensive suits and felt the color flood her face. This was some kind of mistake, a cruel joke. She turned to leave but Aaron grabbed her arm. No, you don't understand." He grinned drunkenly. "I'm serious. I just vowed to marry the first girl who walks through that door. And it's you." "Destiny." Kira tried to pull away, feeling tears come to her eyes. "Please let me go. I came for a job interview, not to be the object of someone else's jokes." But Aaron wouldn't let go. Something in this girl's eyes, in her dignity in the face of ridicule, touched his drunken heart. "I'm not joking," he said more quietly. "Let's get acquainted. What's your name?" "Kira," she whispered, still not realizing what was happening. "Kira," Aaron repeated as if tasting the name. "It's a beautiful name. Kira, marry me." Aaron's friends erupted into another burst of laughter. Someone was already filming what was happening on their phone. Kira felt dozens of mocking glances, heard whispers, "Where did he find such a carcass? Poor Aaron, this will be the marriage of the century." She wanted to run away, to hide, to disappear. But something in Igor's eyes, some sincerity breaking through the drunken fog, made her stay. You're crazy, she said quietly. Perhaps, Igor replied. But I'm keeping my word. We're applying tomorrow. Kira couldn't believe the reality of what was happening. She had come for a job interview and found herself in the center of some crazy spectacle. But deep inside, in the part of her soul where her deepest dreams lived, something moved. Could this be her chance? A chance to change her life, to become something more than just that fat girl in HR? Okay, she heard her voice as if from outside. I agree. Since you're seriously willing to commit such an act over an argument, I'll take part in your fun. I don't have anyone else anyway, and I haven't celebrated a holiday in a while. Who knows, maybe it really is fate. Aaron fell silent and then, to the surprise of everyone present including himself, leaned over and kissed Kira on the cheek. Wow! He exclaimed. Friends, meet my bride. The rest of the evening passed like a blur. Kira sat next to Aaron as his friends continued to drink and joke around, occasionally throwing perplexed or mocking glances at her. She felt uncomfortable in her tight suit, especially next to these groomed men and peering models. But Aaron, to her surprise, was attentive and gallant. He offered her champagne, which she declined, and even tried to engage her in conversation. Sure, he was drunk, but in his eyes Kira saw genuine curiosity. So you're here for an interview? He asked at one point. Kira nodded. Yes, for the position of restaurant manager. Manager? Aaron whistled. That's impressive. And what kind of experience do you have? Kira began to talk about her work at a staffing agency, how she helped restaurants find staff and optimize operations. To her surprise, Aaron listened attentively, occasionally asking questions. You know what? He said abruptly. I think you're perfect for the position. I'll talk to the restaurant owner tomorrow. You're hired. Kira didn't know whether to laugh or cry. But, we haven't even had an interview. Aaron waved his hand. Why? You're smart, you have experience, and you're going to be my wife. What more could I want? At that moment, one of Aaron's friends, Steve, leaned over to them. Hey, lovebirds. How about we celebrate the engagement? Let's have a party at the selfie club tomorrow. Aaron enthusiastically agreed, and Kira felt her heart clench with dread. Club Egoist was known as a gathering place for Moscow's elite. What was she going to do there? But there was no choice. Tomorrow she was to plunge into a new, unknown world. A world where ridicule and humiliation awaited her, but perhaps also a chance for a new life. As the evening drew to a close, Aaron hailed a cab for Kira and, to her surprise, gallantly kissed her hand goodbye. See you tomorrow, my beautiful bride, he said with a smile. Sitting in the cab, Kira couldn't believe the reality of what was happening. She looked at her reflection in the car window, round face, double chin, disheveled hair. How could she be the wife of a successful businessman? But somewhere deep inside there was a spark of hope. Maybe this is her chance? A chance not only to change her appearance but also to prove to everyone and above all to herself that she is worthy of love and respect. With these thoughts, Kira drove up to her modest apartment in a bedroom community in Chicago. Tomorrow a new chapter of her life would begin. And she was determined to face it with her head held high. The next few weeks passed like a blur for Kira. Aaron, to her surprise, kept his word. The day after they met, they actually applied, and then the frantic wedding preparations began. Kira felt like Alice falling down the rabbit hole. Suddenly she was in a world she had only guessed existed before, a world of luxury, glamour, and endless possibilities. Aaron had insisted that the wedding be lavish and lavish. You're part of my world now, he told Kira. And I want everyone to know how much I appreciate you. But behind those words, Kira sensed something else, Aaron's desire to impress his friends and business associates, to show that he could turn even an ugly duckling like her into a beautiful swan. The first challenge for Kira was choosing a wedding dress. Aaron insisted that she go to the most expensive bridal salon in Chicago. Madam, I'm afraid we don't have any dresses in your size, the consultant said with barely concealed disdain as she gave Kira an appraising look. Kira felt the color flood her face. She was ready to turn around and leave, but then Aaron's friend Anita, whom he had asked to help with the wedding preparations, intervened. You don't seem to understand, Anita said coldly. This girl is Aaron Vanderbilt's fiancée. And if you don't have a suitable dress, you'll have to create one. Money is not a problem. The mention of Aaron's name worked wonders. Suddenly the counselor was courtesy incarnate. Of course, absolutely. We'll do our best. Eventually a dress was ordered for Kira from a well-known designer. But the fitting process turned into a real torture for her. Every time she looked at herself in the mirror, surrounded by slender models and groomed salon clients, she felt huge and clumsy. "Don't worry," Anita told her once, noticing her condition. "After the wedding, we'll take care of your appearance. Diets, fitness, beauticians, you'll be a real beauty." Kira didn't know whether to thank her or take offense. On the one hand, Anita was really trying to help. On the other hand, her words once again emphasized how much Kira did not fit into this world. Meanwhile, preparations for the wedding were in full swing. Aaron insisted that the ceremony be held in one of the most luxurious hotels in Chicago. A huge banquet hall was ordered, hundreds of guests were invited, Aaron's friends and business partners. Kira felt increasingly uncomfortable. She hardly ever saw Aaron, he was busy with his work and only occasionally called to find out how the preparations were going. All the decisions were made without her, choosing the menu, the music, decorating the room. "Don't worry about a thing," Aaron said over the phone. "I want this to be your dream wedding." But Kira couldn't help but worry. This wasn't her dream wedding, it was Aaron's dream wedding, his idea of what the perfect celebration should look like. A week before the wedding, Aaron had thrown a bachelor party. Kira didn't know the details, but the next day, photos of Aaron partying surrounded by half-naked models appeared online. "It's just tradition," he said when Kira timidly asked him about it. "Last night of freedom, you know? Don't make a big deal out of it." Kira nodded, but her insides clenched. She suddenly realized with terrifying clarity that she was completely ignorant of the man she was about to marry. The night before the wedding, Kira couldn't sleep. She stood at the window of her rented apartment, looking out at Chicago at night, and thought about how her life had changed in those few weeks. A month ago, she was just an ordinary girl dreaming of a promotion at a staffing agency. Now she stood on the threshold of a new life, a life she knew nothing about. Suddenly, Kira was gripped by fear. What if this is all a mistake? What if Aaron wakes up tomorrow and realizes he's done something stupid? Or worse, what if he never changed his attitude toward her and she would forever be an object of ridicule for him and his friends? But it was too late to retreat. The most important day of her life awaited her tomorrow. And Kira was determined to meet it with her head held high. The morning of the wedding day began for Kira with the arrival of a whole army of stylists, makeup artists, and hairdressers. Alina personally supervised the bride's preparation process. "You have to look stunning today," she said as she critically examined Kira. "We'll make them all choke on their ridicule." For several hours, Kira endured endless treatments. Her hair was styled into an elaborate style, her face covered in a thick layer of makeup. When it came time to put on the dress, the help of 2 assistants was needed. Finally, Kira stood in front of the mirror. She barely recognized herself. The expensive dress, the skillful makeup, the shining jewelry, all this created the illusion of luxury and elegance. But deep inside, Kira felt like an imposter. "Gorgeous!" Anita exclaimed. "Aaron will be thrilled." Kira smiled weakly. She wasn't sure Aaron would even notice how she looked. The ceremony was to be held in the main room of the hotel. As Kira walked in there under the arm of her father, she was met with hundreds of stares. She heard whispers, saw surprised and mocking smiles. But Kira walked forward with her head held high. Igor was waiting for her at the altar. He was handsome in his expensive suit, but his eyes were a little cloudy. He seemed to have started celebrating before the ceremony. When Kira approached him, he smiled and whispered, "You look beautiful." But there was no warmth in his voice, he said it as if he was performing some kind of duty. The ceremony passed as if in a fog. Kira mechanically repeated the words of the vows, not quite realizing their meaning. When Aaron put the ring on her finger, she felt a tear roll down her cheek. Those present probably mistook it for a tear of happiness. But Kira knew the truth, it was a tear of fear and uncertainty. After the ceremony, the banquet began. Aaron quickly left Kira to mingle with the guests. She was left alone, feeling out of place in this sea of unfamiliar faces. "Hey, there's our Cinderella." Kira heard a loud voice behind her. It was Tom, Aaron's best friend. "How does it feel to be a princess?" Kira tried to smile, but the smile came out strained. "It's fine, thanks." Tom winked at her. "Don't worry, babe. Aaron's the easygoing type. He'll play and quit and you'll be left with a nice payoff. Everybody wins." Kira felt a lump come up to her throat. Did everyone really think this was just a game? That Aaron had married her on a bet or a whim? Throughout the evening, Kira felt the stares of the guests. She heard snippets of conversation, saw people whispering as they looked in her direction. Aaron paid little attention to her, busy chatting with his business associates. By the end of the evening, Kira was exhausted physically and emotionally. When she and Igor were finally alone in the wedding suite, she felt completely drained. Aaron seemed to only now truly notice her. He looked at Kira for a long moment and something akin to surprise flashed in his eyes. "You know," he said suddenly, "you really do look beautiful today. I'm glad I married you." Kira felt her heart beat faster. Maybe not all was lost? Maybe they really did have a chance? But then Aaron yawned and reached for the bottle of champagne. "So, shall we celebrate our wedding night?" Kira nodded, trying to hide her disappointment. She realized that the road to Aaron's heart was going to be long and difficult. But she was up for the challenge. After all, wasn't this what she'd dreamed of, a chance to change her life? Falling asleep next to a drunken Aaron, Kira thought about the future. She knew she had a long way to go. But she was determined to go all the way. She would prove to everyone and most of all to herself that she was worthy of love and respect. And perhaps in the process she would be able to melt Aaron's heart and turn their marriage of convenience into a true union of love. The honeymoon went by like a blur for Kira. Aaron insisted on traveling to the Maldives, where they spent 2 weeks in a luxurious hotel. It was Kira's first trip abroad and she was overwhelmed by the beauty of the ocean and the luxury of the resort. However, even in paradise she couldn't shake off her feelings of awkwardness and inappropriateness. On the beach she was self-conscious about her body, preferring to hide under the wide perios. She saw how other vacationers, slim, tanned, confident, looked at her next to Aaron with surprise. Aaron himself seemed oblivious to her discomfort. He spent his days sipping cocktails by the pool and talking on the phone with business associates. In the evenings they dined at the hotel restaurant, where Aaron ordered the most expensive dishes and wines without asking Kira about her preferences. "You should get used to the good life," he would say when Kira tried to object. "You're my wife now and I want you to have the best of everything." Kira tried to be grateful, but she was undaunted by the feeling that she was just another trophy for Aaron, like an expensive watch or a yacht. Back in Chicago, they moved into Aaron's huge downtown apartment. A new life began for Kira, the life of a rich businessman's wife. Aaron insisted that Kira quit her job. "You don't have to work anymore," he said. "Your job now is to be my wife and look accordingly." He hired a personal trainer, nutritionist, and stylist for Kira. Each day began with grueling workouts at the gym, followed by endless treatments at beauty salons. Kira felt like a doll trying to be remodeled. Her closet was completely revamped, filling her closets with designer clothes. She was taught how to walk properly in heels, how to use cutlery at formal dinners, how to make small talk. "You have to live up to your new status," said Anita, who took on the role of Kira's mentor in the world of high society. Kira did her best. She followed all the advice, endured painful procedures, spent hours in the gym. Gradually her body began to change. Kilograms slowly but surely went away, her skin became tighter and her gait more confident. But inside, Kira felt more and more alone and lost. Aaron was constantly busy with work, often away on business trips. When he was home, he spent most of his time in his office or in business meetings. Kira tried to find her place in this new life. She enrolled in foreign language courses, began to visit art exhibitions and theaters. But every time she found herself in society, she felt the appraising glances. "Oh, is that the fat girl Aaron married on a dare?" she once heard a whisper behind her back at a social event. Kira pretended not to hear it, but those words hurt her deeply. Did everyone around her still only see her as that fat girl? 6 months passed. Kira stood in front of the mirror in her huge dressing room, looking at her reflection. She had lost almost 30 kilograms, her hair was perfectly styled, her makeup was flawless, and her designer dress sat like a fitted one. However, not everyone was happy about her changes. Aaron's friends were still relentless. "You married a fat girl and now look what came out of it." They teased, but Aaron felt that Kira had strength and determination invested in her. Not only had she transformed in appearance, but she was smarter, more confident and independent. Her growth was a source of pride to him. Kira also remembered how she had been humiliated. Every time she looked in the mirror, she felt sad that people only saw her for her appearance. She knew that she needed to change not only her body but also her inner self. At that moment her heart was filled with determination. She longed not only for outer beauty but also for inner peace. But looking into her eyes, Kira saw only emptiness and weariness there. She achieved what she dreamed of, she became slim and beautiful. But it didn't make her any happier. At that moment, Aaron entered the room. He gave Kira an appraising look and smiled. "You look great, darling," he said. "Important dinner with the partners tonight, try to make a good impression." Kira nodded, feeling everything inside clench. To Aaron, she was still just a beautiful accessory that was supposed to emphasize his status. At dinner, Kira sat silently as usual, smiling and nodding in all the right places. She had learned to play the role of an ideal wife, beautiful, well-groomed, silent. But at some point the conversation turned to Aaron's new project, the construction of a large shopping center. Kira suddenly caught herself thinking that she had something to say about it. After all, she had experience in personnel management, she knew how to organize the effective work of a large team. "What if," she began but faltered when she saw Aaron's surprised look. "What were you going to say, dear?" he asked with a slight sneer in his voice. Kira took a deep breath and made up her mind. "I was thinking that we could streamline the hiring process for the new center. I have some ideas." To her surprise, one of Igor's partners looked at her interestedly. "You know, that's an interesting idea. Tell me more about it, Kira." For the next half hour, Kira talked, surprising herself. She talked about modern methods of personnel management, how to improve efficiency, how to create a team that would work as a single mechanism. When she finished, there was silence at the table. Then Aaron's partner said, "Impressive. Aaron, you didn't tell me your wife was an expert in human resource management." Igor looked stunned. He looked at Kira as if he was seeing her for the first time. "I didn't realize it myself," he muttered. The rest of the evening passed like a blur. Kira felt both elated and scared at the same time. She suddenly realized that over the months of grueling workouts and beauty treatments, she had forgotten who she really was, an intelligent, educated woman with her own thoughts and ambitions. When they got home, Aaron was silent for a long time. Finally he turned to Kira and said, "You surprised me today. I didn't realize you were so good at business." Kira felt anger growing inside her. "There's a lot you don't know about me, Aaron. You've never tried to find out." Aaron looked confused. "But I thought you were content. You have everything a woman could dream of." "Everything except respect and the opportunity to be myself," Kira said quietly. That night had been a turning point in their relationship. For the first time in their entire marriage, they had a real conversation. Kira told Igor how she felt, how she missed her job, how she was tired of being just a pretty doll. Aaron listened, and understanding slowly appeared in his eyes. He suddenly realized that behind the outward changes he hadn't noticed what an amazing person his wife was. "I was an idiot," he finally said. "I'm sorry, Kira. I promise things will change." It wasn't an instant transformation, but the beginning of a new chapter in their relationship. Aaron began to listen to Kira's opinions, to consult with her on business matters. Kira, in turn, felt she could be herself without fear of judgment. One day when they were having dinner at a restaurant, Aaron looked over his beautiful wife and suddenly realized that he was falling in love with her all over again. He knew it wasn't just her looks but her inner transformation that made Kira so attractive. She shared her dreams and aspirations with him, their conversations became deeper and more interesting. That evening, over a glass of wine, he realized that his former feelings for her were only growing stronger. Kira noticed a change in Aaron. His looks, smiles and caring gave her confidence. She realized that she had finally found her love. Although their relationship started out as a bet, it grew into something more. One day, looking into Aaron's eyes, Kira said, "I never thought you would see something more in me than just my looks." His answer was a real revelation to her. "I see everything in you, both inner and outer beauty." Kira began to realize that her feelings for Aaron had changed as well. She noticed that she began to look forward to his return from work, cooked dinners for him, and tried to spend every spare minute with him. Their relationship began to be filled with warmth and care. Together they started planning trips and dreaming about the future. Kira returned to work, but now at Aaron's company, where her experience and knowledge proved invaluable. Together they created a new HR management system which brought the business to a new level. Gradually, the attitudes of those around them changed. Now, when Kira appeared at social events, people paid attention not only to her appearance but also to her intelligence and charisma. And Aaron fell in love with his wife for real. He saw in her not just a beautiful woman but an equal partner, an intelligent and strong personality. On their wedding anniversary, Aaron decided to surprise Kira. He invited their friends over for an evening to celebrate their love and transformation. Kira, dressed in a gorgeous gown, walked into the hall and all eyes were fixed on her. Aaron's friends froze, unable to contain their admiration. They began to realize that Kira was not just a fat woman but an amazing woman who had overcome all obstacles for the sake of love. Aaron raised a toast to Kira. She is not only my wife but also my source of inspiration. She proved that true beauty comes from within and that everyone has a chance to change their lives for the better. There was silence in the room and then applause broke out. Kira blushed with embarrassment but tears of happiness glistened in her eyes. This evening was a real celebration for her, not only in honor of their anniversary but also in honor of her new life. Kira remembered how they had laughed at her, how she had felt helpless and insecure. But now, in the midst of these people who had once judged her, she stood with her head held high. Aaron walked up to her and said quietly, "You're not just beautiful, you're strong. You deserve the best." Those words warmed her soul and she felt like she was finally able to accomplish something meaningful. After dinner, Kira decided to give a short speech. "I want to thank all of you for coming to this evening. This is not just a day for me and Aaron. It is the day I realized that beauty and happiness are not just external attributes but internal qualities as well. I decided to change my life and thanks to Igor's love I was able to do so." Her words filled the hall with an atmosphere of warmth and understanding. Friends began to discuss their own stories and the evening became a real celebration of life. A year after that memorable night, Aaron and Kira stood on the balcony of their apartment, looking out over Chicago at night. Kira was still just as beautiful, but now her beauty came from within. It was the beauty of a confident, happy woman. "You know," Aaron said as he hugged his wife, "I'm grateful to fate for that stupid joke. It led me to the greatest happiness of my life." Kira smiled, snuggling up to her husband. She knew their story wasn't just a Cinderella tale. It was a story of how two people learned to see in each other not only the outer shell but also the soul. A story about how true love can overcome all prejudices and change people for the better. And their path to happiness was not easy, but it was worth it. Because now they knew that real beauty really comes from within and love can do wonders.